Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 4
Episode 4, baby.
of The Boy in the Beard. And we are guestless.
Yep.
Mr. Kevin Phillips isn't feeling well today, so Tony and I are just going to run this one, and hopefully you guys will be entertained.
Yeah.
Yeah, go from there. So we've got a social media class coming up on March 11th. It's kind of like an introduction to social media marketing and best practices that you can use for your business. So if you go to our Facebook page, it's $10. We're going to do about an hour. We'll have some slides, some interaction. You can ask questions. We'll give you answers. And hopefully it's something that you guys can get involved in and really help make your business grow. Because in these trying times, you definitely need to know what you need to be doing.
Yeah, your social media game has to be on point, especially now.
It definitely does. There's so much competition out there in your own space that you kind of got to have that foot.
Oh, we're saturated. Like the market is every market is saturated.
It is. Even with us, we've got some competition from the sign shop, from the photography, the videography, the social media management. So everybody's got to be on their toes nowadays.
So we're going to be talking about Logan today, the 2017 10th and final installment, I believe, of the X-Men franchise, starring Hugh Jackman. So a couple things about the film. I'm going to read the synopsis quickly. It's only a couple sentences. It says, in the near future, a weary Logan cares for an ailing Professor X in a hideout on the Mexican border, but Logan's attempts to hide from the world and his legacy are upended when a young mutant arrives being pursued by dark forces. Had a budget of $125 million. Have you read the box office number?
I haven't.
How much do you think it grossed?
No, I don't. I want to say, what was the budget? 125?
Budget's 125.
At least 300?
$619 million.
Holy cow.
So, yeah, that's almost, 5 times the budget.
Do you know what Hugh Jackman's pay was off of that?
Oh, gosh. I would guess probably $40 million.
If not more.
It's him retiring as Wolverine.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
His last outing, unless he makes some cameo appearances in the future. But to my understanding, he's been wanting to segue out of being Wolverine for quite a while.
I could see that. So to preface this, I don't watch a lot of X-Men or even Marvel. Yeah, no, not at all. Obviously, I know the story. I'd seen one back in the day. I think probably the first one.
Probably one of the first 3, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know which one it was. It's been so long. But it was a good movie.
It is a good movie. So I saw it in theaters in 2017 with my girlfriend, and she had never seen any X-Men movies.
Right.
And that's kind of similar to your situation where you're not super up to date on the lore.
Right.
So how was it for someone viewing it that knows minimal about the X-Men?
It was a great standalone movie. The story was, if you know a little bit about the X-Men or at least Wolverine, you can go into it. I liked it. I liked it a lot, really.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Well acted, great special effects. And I think they drop enough exposition in the dialogue to kind of bring you up to speed. Obviously, they're kind of designing it for people who haven't seen it, because there's always going to be people getting dragged to it that haven't seen it. They're saying things, this is how all movies and TV are really, that people won't really say. When someone's like, you're my brother. I've known you for 15 years. Like, people don't say that type of thing. But, he's like, hey, no new mutants have been born for 25 years, Xavier. Like, that's
that's that nudge to your
he looks at the camera and he's all...
Yeah, wink, wink.
Wink. So how do you feel about the plot? Like, writing-wise, dialogue?
Dialogue was great. No issues with the dialogue. The plot was good. I guess it had a little backstory and it showed you.
It's a little windy.
It is, with the younger mutants and them creating those kids and
the lab. And
yeah.
It definitely isn't as straightforward as it seems, because it almost seems like it's just going to be an action romp of him running from some G-Men at the beginning, but then they have this whole separate storyline about cloning and just like growing mutants and this and that.
And in the very end, if I'm not giving any spoilers away, when she goes daddy, that kind of pulls on a heartstring.
Full circle on that.
Yeah.
So Wolverine's whole thing, is that everyone he likes just dies. No matter what he does, if he cares about someone, they pass away. So he told the girl, like, everyone I care about passes away. And she looks at him and goes, I'll be fine then.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, oh, right in the soul. Because she doesn't have any family or parents.
For sure.
And she obviously views him as like a father figure.
Yeah.
But, to her perception is that he's been basically a piece of duty.
Yeah.
In this whole trip. He doesn't want anything to do with her. He's just trying to get her from point A to point B, get some moolah, dump her off. But then he has like that classic movie last second change of heart.
He does. And what did he mean? So when he said this is what it feels like, death?
To die.
To die. That's what he was referencing?
So he hates himself. Like, that's his whole character arc, basically, is he hates himself, he hates everything he does, he just feels like he's horrible, but he's basically immortal. He won't die naturally. Obviously, they had that plot, so the metal that was in his body had some sort of toxicity,
Right.
and it's been in him for,
So
20,
that's what's
25
killing
years.
him on the inside.
That's the reason he's not healing as quickly, and that he's being slow, and he's got a limp.
Yeah.
They said his knuckles were pussy, so basically he is dying.
I did notice that whenever he did his first fight scene with those the dudes at the exit at the beginning of the movie, and he's in a bathroom, and you could see that little bit of pus coming out of the
Great
fingers.
attention to detail.
Yeah.
So he isn't suicidal, I'd say, but almost passively suicidal, where he wouldn't try to stop himself from dying. And then obviously he had that metal bullet where he said he was planning on using it to
Right, for sure.
game end himself.
Yeah.
But
That
he
came in clutch at the end, though.
Came in clutch at the end.
Laura was able to finish off
X-24.
X-24.
Which I want to talk about that a little bit, actually. So that scene where Logan, the real Logan's at the bottom of the stairs, and X-24 comes down,
Right.
and they lock eyes, and the camera pans around to show both of them in frame. So they were overlapping. You have a camera pan where it shows him not overlapping, and then he fully walks around him and out the door.
That was fantastic.
The amount of effort that goes into a special effects shot like that, it could have easily been something where it cut away or they never overlapped.
Right.
And I was watching a video not too long ago, actually, about special effects, and the way they did that effect was they just took a de-aged Hugh Jackman
Right.
and put his head on a completely different dude's body.
Got it.
So that's like a young 30-something-year-old guy who's just in shape, has a similar build and height
Right.
to Hugh Jackman.
Gotcha.
And they just went in and patched out and replaced his head. But I think it's pretty seamless.
I think it is as well. It felt a little bit like Looper.
Yeah,
That look, that vision, whenever you see with Bruce Willis and the other gentleman.
Is it Joseph Gordon-Levitt in that
It
movie?
was Joseph Gordon-Levitt, yeah. And so that's what it felt like to me. But I really did enjoy it.
So what did you think about the action, the choreography, the fight scenes?
They were they were good. I mean, I'm no expert in that sense. I didn't feel like it was rushed. I felt like it was well done.
There's a good amount of space between each action set piece, because I think there's, 3 big fight scenes.
Yep. The beginning, obviously.
So the opening has kind of a little taste test, and then when they pull up on his compound, there's a big fight scene. When they show up at the Las Vegas thing, there's a pretty big fight scene. There's one at the farm, and then there's one at the end. Oklahoma City, yeah. So it's 2 hours and 15 minutes, but probably only 20 minutes of that, maybe 30, is what I would actually say is action.
Right.
The rest of it's almost a slow... It's really a slow burn in between the action.
It is, I guess, just to build that character and for you to realize what's happened to Professor X and his mental state.
Devastated.
Yeah.
Like, I was devastated when I first went to watch that movie.
Getting old sucks, even for the X-Men. And
I mean, I had some dogs in that race because I like X-Men. Like,
Right.
I watched the movies as a kid. I was a kid when they were coming out. And I had quite a few of them on DVD, so they've been on repeat for, the majority of my life. So when I sat down in theaters, I was like, oh, yeah, rated R X-Men movie? This is going to be awesome, because Wolverine's always slashing people up. But what do? Pass out? They just go, oh, and hit the ground after he slashes them with, 13-inch long metal claws.
Right.
But I didn't expect mental, Alzheimer's, ALS type stuff.
I mean, it's real life.
Dementia.
Yeah.
And then obviously both of the last remaining OG X-Men goinked. So that's kind of like a bookend on my actual childhood in terms of watching X-Men.
That's tough, especially when you look at it that way. I'm sure that's with you being as much in the movies as you are, especially X-Men, and then seeing that chapter being closed.
Because you don't expect them to have the nuts to have both of the main characters. There's no real... you get the sense of hope with the kids escaping at the end. But, they're like, nah. No,
So
everything you love is gone. At least it's kind of like what they're doing with Star Wars, I think. So there might be more X-Men properties in the future, but not Cyclops.
Just individual storylines.
Not Professor X. Maybe this new generation of kids.
Right, could be.
But in terms of the original, I mean, it's 10 films, but I guess they've decided to move on, and they went out on a bang, clearly, quadrupling their budget here.
If Hugh would have been, I mean, he could have got a back end deal just off of net profit or whatever.
Yeah.
Versus anything up front.
So at the end, when he's running through the forest, you know how he's doing all that grunting and screaming? There's a video going around, I should have showed it to you before we started, of him in the sound booth.
Oh, doing that?
Doing that, because obviously it's ADR.
Right.
They're not capturing. He's not wound up running around and screaming. And they have the movie or the scene on a TV mounted on the wall, and he's in front of a script thing, and he's like miming along with himself and just screaming. Oh, really? But he's in a sound booth.
So he reenacted his scene, and then just to get into that character.
Doing like the appropriate grunts and screaming. But it is the funniest video ever because obviously it's the internet. People went out and like took the screen out and made it a green screen template. So it'll be like Minecraft footage or something, and it's just Hugh like like screaming and throwing his claws around and stuff.
That's hilarious.
Which I love. Hugh's getting old.
I mean,
still in great shape.
That's
what everybody does. Yeah.
He's 52. I believe I looked while we were watching, as most people do. I jumped on Wiki and
read up a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
52, great shape.
Fantastic.
For a 52-year-old. Like, he did not slide downhill at all. No. At least not for this. Like, he definitely didn't have his muscling up and his whatever his regiment was, which I'm sure was brutal, especially being 52.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Trying to cut weight and bulk up and stuff when you're...
And he's hooking up with Mark Wahlberg, getting some...
watching some of those old 1980s Mark Wahlberg workout tapes or what? Muscle up for Logan?
Yeah, his old Calvin Klein ads.
What did you think of the little girl's acting? Now, I know she didn't speak.
She didn't speak very much. I think the acting aspect of it was fine. I mean, she didn't have a lot. I mean, her fight scenes were fantastic. The screaming and the vocals that she did when she was fighting was great. So we'll see. She's 16 now, so I haven't seen her in anything else. I don't know anything about her.
Well, it's tough when you have no... I mean, at the end, she kind of has more speaking. But you have to emote with your face. I think lucky for her, they were kind of playing she's not very humanized. She's never been in society.
Right.
She was grown in a lab, raised to be a murder machine.
Did you get that from her when you first seen the film, the first couple shots of her? Did that resonate with you that she was a mutant?
Yes. I think because she's off. She's just very clearly off.
Yeah.
And I was under the impression, actually, the first time I watched it, what I thought was going on was they snipped vocal cords or something in the lab so they wouldn't be as rebellious. They wouldn't talk. They wouldn't have the chance to plan with each other, which I think would have been good. That would have been good.
That would have been good.
It would have been dark because it's a dark film anyway. You kind of see this. What is she probably? And in the movie, she's probably 7, 8.
Give or take, yeah.
She kind of gets brutalized. Like, you see her get harpooned through the midsection at one point. You see
mentally, how does anybody even deal with that if you can live or not?
Yeah, no, that's horrible.
Yeah.
And that's a theme, too, where she's talking about how she's killed people.
Right, for sure.
And Wolverine's talking about how he's killed people.
Right.
But she says, well, I killed bad people. And he was like, killing's killing. Sorry, you're going to be messed up, basically. Right. And she was just like, all right, thanks for the advice.
Yeah.
So, did you feel any emotional weight at the end, even though you're not very invested?
I mean, yeah, I don't have to. I'm not invested in the storyline, obviously, but just with anything, I think you garner that as you go through the story and you see him and you feel his pain and everything that he's dealt with, and at the end, there's that sense of relief.
Oh, he gets tore up.
He does, and all that pain and everything. So
basically 2 hours and 15 minutes of Hugh Jackman just getting obliterated, eviscerated, and shot, stabbed, and
you feel his mental anguish, and you see all that.
It's very visceral too. I think with the gore, I think getting greenlit to do something R-rated and gory as a Marvel property, you kind of get one chance.
No, for sure.
From a directorial standpoint and the writers. So that scene in what city was it? Oklahoma City?
Yep.
Where they're in the hotel and nobody can move. They're all like paralyzed. Yep. And he just slowly comes in, and that guy's, I don't know if you saw, but
I noticed his eye kind of catch on. And
where he sees him and he can't do anything. And he's just like, slice right into your brain, slice right through your eye, so slowly.
I thought that was pretty cool, too, because it kind of showed you him making his way to Professor X, and then once he gave him that shot, everybody just dropped.
I really liked the choreography in that scene in terms of him making his way down the hallway when he starts stabbing his claws into the wall
to gain
and like almost like an ice pick.
Yeah, exactly.
I also like the detail that because his skull is made of metal, the whole thing that's going on with everyone's brains doesn't affect him as much. It's not just because he's a mutant. Like, it affects mutants as equally. Their soft tissue and brains.
Obviously, which I didn't realize Stephen Merchant was in this, and what's his character?
His character's name is Caliban.
Caliban.
And he is albino.
Yep.
But his main thing is basically that he's a kind of a human bloodhound. He can track mutants. He can smell individual like mutations and
Right.
stuff to the degree where he's in a cage in a truck and he's able to point them
Right.
several states and thousands of miles to the appropriate location.
And so what was he? So whenever he was at the trunk, and then that bag came out, and he seen the little ball, which is referenced in one of the flashbacks of the kids, and that is he just smelt.
So he
was in
smelt a mutant, but I think the key is that he knew it had to be a new mutant, which
Right.
is something in the mutant community, I suppose, that would be controversial because they, in essence, were genocided
Correct.
by the U.S. government. So that's kind of confirmation that at the beginning when he was talking about how Professor X was communicating with
Right.
somebody and they were all like, he's got dementia or he has Alzheimer's, it's nothing. That's when he realized, like, oh, crap. Like, I think he probably knew that second that he was going to die.
Yeah, for sure.
Honestly,
Yeah.
because if you think about how powerful just a group of like 12 of these people were, the fact that thousands of them had gotten wiped out,
Yeah.
your chances aren't great. And gotta feel bad for that guy too, because he upended his whole existence to help Logan and Professor X, and then he just got tortured and then
Right.
exploded.
And explode, yeah, in the back of the truck,
Yeah.
which is a pretty baller move on his part to sacrifice.
He had a pretty
himself.
kick-ass last line
Yeah.
when he said, "Beware of the light,"
Yeah.
because he's albino.
Right,
And
exactly.
then he tries to blow these people
Which, and
up.
that's just thrown back at the guy that had him, and then when he cut their cord and the curtain fell or whatever.
So he instantly starts to like burn and scab up in the sun, and that's how they were using it to coerce him into helping them basically murder his own friends, which has to be horrible. But it's always nice to see like kind of being a martyr instead of just having your death in vain, especially when it's a group of kids that you're trying to save.
Right.
Which I don't know if he even really understood the full scope of the situation.
Probably not. I think he wasn't up. He
probably-
wasn't up to speed.
He thought there was like one.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
was like, woo, saved her. Little does he know, there's like 12, 11-year-olds'
Yeah.
lives on the line.
right.
So visual effects as a whole, what did you think in terms of
I thought it was great.
his claws?
The claws looked fantastic. The blood splatter was great. The sound effects that went with that were good.
I'm not a
Obviously,
huge
little bit
fan of
over the
CG
top.
blood,
Yeah.
but I think it was relatively well done.
I think it wasn't overly done.
Yeah, and a lot of the scenes were kind of dark, so that
Yeah.
helps with the. It normally comes out looking like Flubber,
Yep.
the Robin Williams Flubber movie.
Right.
But it was a good mix of practical and CG
I think
in
so,
terms of
too.
the injuries too, because when he's laying in the hospital bed, you could tell very clearly that's a prosthetic.
It is, but it was. I mean, it was so deep, and then that
It's gnarly.
dark blood. Yeah.
It looks like it's like seeping and
Yeah.
infected and stuff.
Yeah.
So all in all, being a fan of X-Men and pretty much just any movie ever made in general,
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it when I first saw it. I loved it now.
Yeah.
There were people when it first came out, just like every other thing, going, it's overrated. It's just getting blown out of proportion. Or it was gratuitous with the violence. They only did it because they wanted to do it. But
Well, they still did it, and obviously the box office numbers.
They
kind
speak for
Speak
themselves.
for themselves, exactly.
but in this universe, I mean, it's not a. None of the movies are happy-go-lucky. I mean, they're more family-friendly in the past, but you're looking at an entire genealogy that's been
Right.
wiped out like savagely. So.
Yeah.
The material they're handling, even though it's fictional and a little bit fantastical, it's weighty.
It
and
is.
it definitely resonates with
Yeah.
you. It's easy to empathize with that position.
Right.
What's your favorite 80s action movie? Top of the first thing that pops in your head when I say 80s
action movie.
80s. So I'm talking Air Force One, Escape from New York, RoboCop, Terminator, that wheelhouse, Die Hard.
Yeah, so I've seen one RoboCop, seen one Terminator. So I'm not big, yeah. And it's not that I don't appreciate it. I just don't have the draw or. So an 80s action movie.
I know you're a pretty.
I'm an 80s movie fan, but more of a comedy, romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Can't Buy Me Love with Patrick Dempsey, one of my fantastic movies that I love. 16 Candles, I just bought on DVD. Better Off Dead with John Cusack. Where's my $2? That whole thing.
Yeah.
So I love 80s movies in that sense, but from an action standpoint, it's tough to say.
It's hard, right?
It is.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm. It's hard for the reverse reason.
Right.
Because I love them all.
Right.
It's hard for me to decide one. I think I could say pretty definitively it's the original Terminator movie. Because I actually saw Terminator 3, which came out in 2003. I was like 3 or 4 years old. But I saw that. My dad showed me that. And I watched it in reverse order, from bad to good.
Oh, gotcha.
So when
Okay.
it finally culminated in me seeing the original Terminator
you're
when
like,
I was
oh,
a little
man.
older,
Yeah.
I was like, holy cow, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. To this
Right.
day, I love it.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies ever made. Definitely I would say top 5.
Right.
I guess it depends on the day.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I know you're familiar at least with Die Hard.
I am. Obviously, we talked about it's a Christmas movie in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, I don't.
I like the campiness of an 80s action movie.
Yeah.
Because they're not going for realism, because you can't.
No.
With the practical effects and the squibs, it's just not how life functions. When you
Right.
shoot somebody, blood
You're
doesn't
not coming
fly
out.
forward out
Right,
of their
right.
body, and you could see the vest that they have on underneath with the nipples in there that explode with the blood. But it's that exact form factor that I think endears it so much, especially since we're so oversaturated with CGI.
Right.
And especially in that period of like 03 to maybe 2012 where there was CGI everywhere but not all very good. You need to watch Brawl on Cell Block 99 with Vince Vaughn.
Oh, I do. It's
basically a modern day 80s action movie in terms of it. I can't say that there's any VFX digitally besides probably backgrounds and skies and stuff, but all of the gore effects, because it's a fighting action movie, guns and breaking bones and whatnot, all seems to be done practically, but it's done purposely 80s-esque, where like say head explodes, it's obviously like a mannequin head full of hamburger meat that explodes. Like it clearly cuts to a dummy, but it's on purpose. Yeah. But that movie is brutal.
How is Vince Vaughn in that film?
Fantastic.
Really?
I love seeing him in serious roles.
Yeah.
Outside of comedy. So Vince Vaughn, I think you know him more comedically. I think I could say honestly, I've only seen one romantic comedy with Vince Vaughn, and it's the one that we watched not too long ago, where he tries to do Christmas at both families' houses with his wife.
Oh yeah, 4 Christmases.
4 Christmases.
So it's him
double the amount of Christmases that I remembered. I came up.
I thought that was a good movie.
It was good. It was funny, and like I always say, you kind of have to judge it against other romantic comedies.
Right. Jon Favreau was fantastic in there. And,
was he like the douchey brother? Right.
He was, and they were Orlando, I think was his name, and they were all named after the states that they were conceived in.
Oh yeah. That's why. Yeah, Orlando. I forgot about that whole plot point. Yeah. So Vince Vaughn is a big guy. He's like 6'5" or something.
He is, yeah.
So
not built,
not muscular,
sure.
but he's imposing. I mean, like he can be intimidating when he's trying to be. So for me, it's interesting that he's always kind of that lovable or maybe bumbling kind of just innocent, nice guy.
Yeah.
But then you have Freaky, which came out recently.
Yep, great movie.
Where he's a serial killer.
Yeah.
And he's pretty scary in there. It's more of a horror comedy, but there's definitely some tension. He's a drill sergeant in Hacksaw Ridge. Right. And, I mean, he was whipping me into shape, and I was just sitting in the audience. And he was in that Psycho remake, which I think was 2001.
Did you see Swingers?
No.
You haven't seen Swingers. You need to watch Swingers.
That's what he's known for,
with him and Jon Favreau,
right?
Correct. Between that and Wedding Crashers.
Which I have seen. It's,
which is
Adam.
great.
No, that's The Wedding Singer. I'm thinking of
Yeah. No. So it's him and I can't think of his name. Owen Wilson. Can't
get away from Adam Sandler.
No.
Can't everywhere.
There's a running theme on our podcast.
Everywhere I turn, Adam Sandler's like,
he's popping up.
He's all, want some water?
Water, boy.
I've only seen that movie once, I think.
Really?
Mm-hmm. We don't have to do another whole conversation about Adam Sandler, but Adam Sandler, if you're watching this, I despise you, except for Uncut Gems. So anyway, Vince Vaughn in Cell Block 99. So he's like mob muscle, basically.
Okay.
He's almost like a debt collector in a way. And it's just 2 hours of him beating the crap out of people in jail.
Yeah.
Cell Block 99 to be precise. But he's gigantic, so it just makes sense that this guy's just walloping people, because you don't need to be a profestional fighter if you're fighting someone else who's untrained and you're twice the weight of them.
Size,
so he's basically just manhandling all these little guys. And just like, I mean, he's breaking elbows and smashing them into the wall. And there's a part where he like curb stomps somebody almost, but on the flat ground. And it is a tripod shot, just framed it and right on the back of this guy's head. No shake. Oof. And it's a practical effect.
Right.
So, and you're not looking at his face.
Yeah.
So it is effective.
Wow.
I mean, I love horror and practical effects in terms of gore, just from an artistic standpoint, like thinking about how they accomplished it. And even I was like, when I first watched it.
I need to look up that scene. I need to watch the whole. Excuse me. I need to watch the whole movie in its sense just to see it.
It is. I love it. I haven't. I need to rewatch it too, because I've only seen it the one time that I saw it after it came out.
Yeah.
I don't remember very many details, except that, just kind of like Logan, it's not a feel-good movie.
Right. Which is okay.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you feel like you kind of need a shower after you finish watching it, like Schindler's List, but not in that regard.
Which I haven't seen that in forever either.
I haven't seen it since probably 2013 or 14.
Have you seen all the Takens?
I've only seen the first two. There's 3, isn't there?
There are 3.
Taken with a 3 as the second E.
Yes, classic.
Haven't seen it. It's just so funny because you think this guy would get his stuff together with his family and colleagues.
It happens once,
constantly.
okay, yeah.
If it happens once, all right, that sucks. If it happens twice, kind of your fault. If it happens 3 times, why haven't you relocated and changed your name?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he may have because I haven't seen the 3rd movie. Now, do you think the first Taken is a good movie?
I think it's good. I like the plot. I mean, obviously, it's a little. I don't see it actually happening in people that I would know. You know what I mean? But no,
definitely a fantastical
like
version of reality, which a lot of movies are anyway. It has been spoofed and has created so many tropes. The scene alone, just where he's on the phone
with his daughter under the bed,
when he's like, "What is he? I have a particular set of skills, the skills that will make me a nightmare for people like you."
Right.
And he's trying so hard not to sound Irish.
Yeah.
But he still sounds Irish.
He does.
There's a lot of people like that.
There are. What we just watched? So I restarted watching Workaholics on Comedy Central through one of the apps, and gosh, I can't remember her name, but she's in. So I can't remember her name. She's in the a cappella song Pitch Perfect.
Oh, okay. Is it Rebel
Amy.
Wilson?
Rebel Wilson, yeah.
Yes.
She calls herself Fat Amy.
Yes.
But in Workaholics, you can hear her Australian accent a little bit. She's trying to sound
like a break
country.
comes through every once in a while.
A little bit, yeah.
My friend in high school begged me to watch Workaholics on multiple occasions, but I have not seen a single episode. I didn't even know Rebel Wilson was in it.
She's just one cameo season, season 1, whatever episode. But there are 6 seasons, and it goes downhill. First season, bitch better have my honey. He's in a bear suit. And, he's doing his little jokes.
So is it a workplace comedy?
It is. That and a little bit of outside. It's a little stoner comedy.
Oh, okay.
That's
so
on
just
Comedy
based
Central.
on
Yeah, just their antics and their telemarketers.
Oh, okay.
They work at
So it's kind of a
airport.
lax job, almost. Like they can get away with a lot of stuff at work.
Yeah, and then they have some home shots where they throw parties or they just didn't get every episode they get into some.
Yeah.
Something.
Do you know who Sam Worthington is?
Mm-mm.
So he is, I want to say, an Australian actor, not American. He has some sort of accent. And he is in the 4th Terminator movie, trying his damnedest to sound like a good old American boy. But he is awful. Not even like it comes through sometimes. No, he sounds like an Australian trying to do an American accent. Yeah. And he actually voice acts in one of my favorite games ever as the main character, video games.
Yeah.
And he plays an Alaskan, which has such a mild but distinct accent.
Right.
Someone who's natively from like the backwoods of Alaska.
Right.
And this guy, he has a different accent in every single scene. Every single scene that starts, he sounds like he's from a different
he has a different
coordinate on the world every time.
Wow. What
it's
game
hilarious.
Is that?
So it's Call of Duty Black Ops, the first Black Ops. There's freaking 4 of them now. But it came out in 2010.
Right.
So 10 years old now, which gaming-wise basically dates it back.
That's ancient.
What blows my mind is I was playing Apex Legends, which is just a shooting game. Think Fortnite, but not Fortnite. And I'm dropping in, and this kid's like, "Oh, go here, do that. This guy's cracked. This guy's knocked. I hit him for 40." And I was just like, just out of curiosity, "How old are you?" And he was like, 11. And I was like, "Oh, what games do you play?" He's all, "Minecraft, this and that." And Minecraft came out in 2009. So he was literally an infant.
Yeah.
So now I know what it was like for adults when I finally got on online games, and I was like 12 years old playing these games. And they were like, what is happening? Yeah. Like I'm playing Halo, whatever, that came out when I was, a toddler.
Sure. Right.
And these are like 37-year-old men. And I'm not that old now, but I'm in that position where I'm just like, it's almost eerie because I was in middle school playing that game. And now there's this and they're advanced now, man.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Like,
speaking of Apex, I looked it up because Alexis had mentioned something to her about playing, and they started a ladies guild.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if the guild's the right word.
I guess just a group.
A league, yeah.
Yeah, so it's this like community of mostly females.
Yeah.
That I guess it's like a safe space.
It's eerily similar to Fortnite in the sense of the mapping and
the battle royale aspect of it. So Fortnite, well, actually, there was a game before Fortnite called PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and it was just like a little third-party developer. It wasn't a AAA game release or anything. And that started this whole craze of battle royales. But when Fortnite came out, it usurped it almost immediately.
Right.
I think at its peak, Fortnite had 125 million people playing it on an average day,
Right.
which is bonkers.
That's
it might have
huge.
even been more, maybe 250 million. That blew up, and then boom, 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 boom. There's like 50 other battle
Right, for
royales
sure.
now. So it kicked off a whole genre, and I don't know if it was like network, like if networks weren't advanced enough or if servers weren't advanced enough, but a Hunger Games style or like a Death Race style game, it's kind of surprising it wasn't done on a larger scale until the late 2010s. 2017 was when Fortnite dropped. But the idea of 100 real people dropping in and just kind of finding guns and the last one standing wins,
Yeah.
I can't believe it wasn't done sooner.
So for me, first-person shooter games, I'm better from a keyboard,
Mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, kind of a stand-up. For me, FIFA has always been my number one go-to game, and it still is to this day. But I need to look into that.
Playing a little more shooters.
I think so, yeah, and not for just.
I think if you're gonna play something, you gotta. You don't have enough time, but Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, which I've got it.
Story-wise, yeah.
Yeah, and I did start the story, but I haven't.
Especially now that you kind of have a soft spot for Westerns.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal.
Oh, episode 2, we talk about that.
Yeah. So it's easily one of the best stories ever set forth in the realm of a video game.
And the world's huge, right?
It's ginormous. It's immersive. It's immersive to a fault, in my opinion. So say when you're crafting ammo, you have to individually craft each bullet.
Oh, wow.
Hold A, and he'll notch an X into the lead, so like when it hits, it splatters.
Right.
He's by a campfire, and you see the animation of him going, shh, shh, and you press A, and he goes, shh, shh, and you have to do it. So if you want 200 of those,
Wow.
you got to sit and press
Holy
A 200
cow.
times.
That's crazy.
But you don't have to get into that depth because I only did it a few times.
And so for me as well, I'm not a story guy.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I've ever completed any game story.
That's just story driven.
No, I have not.
Yeah.
I probably won't even buy it if it's not an online play.
True. Which Red Dead Redemption 2 has a pretty active online community.
It does.
I was disappointed because I was playing it when it came out. A few months after it came out is when they put the servers up, and then it took them like 2 or 3 months to actually add in any content.
Really?
So it was the same map, this gigantic open world with nothing to do.
Yeah, you're just riding
nothing
around.
to spend your money on, no way to earn money.
Right.
As a matter of fact, except for like hunting and skinning and selling for pennies because it's $18.99.
Yeah.
And then real people, obviously, but people who just have $150 lying around to spend on microtransactions and get like the baller weapons day one, and then they just run around and like bully people Grand Theft Auto style,
Right.
Because it's a Rockstar game.
That's it, yeah.
Toxic community.
Yeah.
But I hear these days it's doing pretty well
Yeah.
because even the online is story driven. There's cutscenes, even though
Yeah,
you're
and
playing
I
with other people.
played the first one, I think.
The first Red Dead.
I believe so. So typically my PlayStation 4, my friends list consists of 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's the same folks that
You played with back in the day.
I played with back in the day and went to his wedding. I was invited to a wedding. So a funny story. Obviously, I don't think a lot of people know this, so we're going to get into it.
Yeah.
So I used to play FIFA, still play FIFA now. FIFA is the soccer game on the PlayStation Network, the console that I play with. And this is probably,
12 years ago?
yeah, give or take, because the World Cup was in 06, probably 2007, 2008. And I used to play every night, religiously get online after work. And
Like the boys are waiting for you.
Yeah, for sure. And these guys are out of England and Ireland, and actually Dundalk, Ireland, and Manchester, England.
Nice.
So I would get on there and we'd play all the time. And I took a trip to England. I got invited to a wedding in Dundalk, Ireland, and actually stayed in a community. The wedding was right outside. It was a place called Beaufort.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was. So I flew to Dublin by myself, met up with these guys, never seen them before. We went and had a typical English breakfast, which
Like a full English.
As a foodie, it was horrible. It was disgusting. Went, hung out with them for a little bit. Went to the wedding, in which you're Mario's friend from America, so that was that guy. Then I took a hop over to Manchester and met up with a guy named David Schofield. Stayed with him and his wife. Never met him before in my life. Took a drive over to Liverpool, seen everything in Liverpool. Went back, hopped back over to Ireland, and then flew back home.
Skipped the pond a little bit.
Yep.
That had to be pretty cool. I don't know what this fixation. Obviously, there are weirdos on the internet, right? But especially considering there's 7.8 billion people and probably 5 billion internet users worldwide. The person you're coming across statistically is just going to be a normal, regular person.
Right.
So obviously you shouldn't get on and start yelling your social security number and throwing your address out and around. But the idea that you're just going to instantly get murdered and kidnapped if you ever come into contact with anybody.
We had been playing, I mean, honestly, probably 3 or 4 years. So it was this relationship when, he was a chef and they were all in the food industry. And at the time I was the owner and operator of Sonic Drive-In. So I had X amount of locations under me so we could talk relative content about work and everything.
I mean, you develop real friendships with people, especially if you play games with people I have some friends that I've been with on Xbox Live since I got Xbox Live, which was like 2011, 12, where it's not like we play super frequently, but we just pop in every once in a while. Oh, hey, man, what's up? Especially since we were 12 and 13, really, when we started talking. And now, obviously, we're like all coming, hitting our 20s and entering adulthood a little more. So it's always nice to do check-ins because there's so much change in that amount of time.
There is. I mean, obviously the one kid got married and now he's got 3 kids, and then the other one he's had another baby.
Everyone grows apart. Like, no matter how much you try to hold on to it, you're going to grow apart.
Yeah. And I haven't played probably in 6 months, 7 months, so I don't get on.
Well, I actually met my IRL best friend through Xbox. So we had, at 2 separate high schools, mutual friends.
Right.
So I knew kids at my high school, he knew kids at his high school, and they knew each other. So when I played Xbox with the people I knew in person at school, he would be in the parties.
Got it.
So it kind of got to the point where we were vibing, and then we started playing alone, and we ended up, being like, hey, let's hang out, let's do this, because we live in the same town, we know all the same people, we're both the same age. Well, he's a little older than me.
Yeah.
And he's the one that actually moved in with me and my mom.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we ended up being roommates and everything. Yeah. So we're best friends easily, hands down. The best friend probably I've ever had.
Nice.
Really similar upbringings.
Yeah.
In terms of like his dad, my dad. Right. So that was a huge thing where we got close over that. Yeah. Big late night talks, staying up playing games till 5 a.m.
It's good to have somebody like that in your life that you can just kind of talk to and vent to, and have same passion about life and whatever.
Yeah, and then obviously we're both real into games. He likes movies.
Yeah. Speaking of games, so I don't know if I should announce this now. We're in the talks. We're a huge fan of The Middle, and I say we as in my wife and I.
I like it.
Tony's seen the episode or 2. We're a super fan in the sense that we've got all 9 seasons on DVD. We watch it every night before we go to bed on HBO. It's now on HBO.
Oh, okay, cool.
So Atticus Schaefer, which plays Brick on the show, has agreed to come on. So we're working out the details. Hopefully in the next 2 or 3 episodes, we'll have Atticus on. He lives out in the West Coast, so we'll have him on remotely. So I'm really excited.
Oh, it's gonna. I'm excited. I've seen.
He's a huge gamer.
Yeah, because he streams on Twitch like every day, right? He streams
on Twitch, yeah.
Regularly.
If not every day, at least 5 times a week.
So regularly,
that's
for sure.
Considered, for sure.
I've seen quite a bit of it just from being around you and Bean. She goes through those stints where that's the daily show, like how Friends is sometimes. Kelly.
Yeah.
But Bean, I want to mention...
Kelly's my wife, and her nickname with family is Bean. Kelly Bean. Her dad used to call her Jelly Bean. Kelly Bean.
Mm-hmm. And then it's just evolved into being Bean. She's Bean from way back. I knew her name as Bean before I knew her name as Kelly. It's a whole thing with my family. I don't call anybody by their real names, really. Even my grandma was Sugar Mama before I learned that her name was Darlene from the Proud family. So whenever I'm at high school or my girlfriend's family house, and I'm texting somebody, she's all, who is that? I'm all, oh, it's my Sugar Mama. Alexis is like, oh, cool. And I look, and everyone else is all,
that's a little bit. It hits a little bit different.
You're what? I'm like, my grandma. They're all, oh, okay, cool nickname.
Yeah.
But I hope he's played Borderlands, because one of the main characters in that game is called Brick. Just Brick. As himself is how he's introduced. Brick as himself.
Yeah.
So introduces Mordecai as the sniper, this guy as the soldier, and then it's just Brick as himself, and he's just this like 8 foot tall buff guy.
I don't think in the show they reference why his name was called Brick. I don't think they.
That's his birth name or his nickname?
No, it's his birth name. And then his sister is Sue Heck. So she's Sue Heck.
Her middle name is Sue, or her name is Sue.
Her middle name is Sue.
Oh my gosh.
There's the whole thing where they change it, and then their brother Axel. He's the high school star, plays basketball, plays football, plays
airhead, jock.
Yep.
So they kind of have, that's like a running joke, just their weird names.
Yeah, a little bit about it, and they're frazzled. I mean, their whole life is, kind of up in the air, and it hits with middle America, and the middle being the name of the show. They're out in
their class, geographically where they are, everything is
Yeah.
Middle of the road.
Really excited about that. Hopefully that'll be something that we can talk about more. And then in about 2 weeks, I'm thinking. So we've got Kevin Phillips rescheduled. I think we're going to try to knock him out this week. So for those watching, maybe the next episode will have Kevin Phillips. And Kevin Phillips was a lead singer in a band called Fight Paris. He's a lawyer and he's a politician. He's the town council here in Port Royal.
Good guy.
He's newly elected. Fantastic. Great conversation. So I'm looking forward to having him on. We're going to have the mayor of Beaufort on, Stephen Murray, newly elected. Another fantastic guy, great, easy to talk to. So looking forward to having him and seeing where that conversation leads to.
So we actually helped him on his mayoral campaign.
We did. We were, I like to say, pretty integral. I mean, we did all his video work.
Video is a big part of it.
It is. We helped with that. So we do some work for him, and we just shot a video 2 days ago for the CVB. That's a new series that's going to be coming out. So, and then a gentleman that I know from TikTok, some dude named Devs, is going to be on remotely next episode, or the one after, maybe the one after Kevin. If we shoot Kevin this week, during the week, we'll do Dev on the weekend.
And hopefully we get Brick on ASAP.
Yep.
That'd be
So
awesome.
we're kind of going to elevate him and push that one and make that one happen sooner than later. Super excited. And I know Kelly's really excited about that.
Oh, she's got to be. I mean, it'd be cool. It'd be cool if you do something for Kelly.
I reached out to Charles McDermott, which plays Axel, and hopefully with our foot in the door with Atticus, that may lead to him agreeing to be on. I don't know. And like you said, you
miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky.
And Gary V. I think Gary V said that, and it's just DMing as much as people as possible, and if they answer it,
the worst thing they could do is say nothing or say no.
Yep.
It's not like you're gonna, you're not gonna die.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's not the end of the world, and So.
All right.
So we appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hopefully we didn't ramble on too much on episode 4.
We'll see how much of this makes the final cut.
It may be a 5-minute or a 10-minute promotion of social media. Who knows?
Yeah. This whole thing is going to be nothing but TikTok highlights. The full episode will be 11 minutes long. Buy the social media class.
Yep. $9.99, March 11th, 7 p.m. at night. I think it's going to be something you're going to like. If there's any questions you've been burning to ask somebody, just jump on, ask us.
You're going to spend $15 at Taco Bell. You could spend $10 on some good knowledge.
Exactly right. Knowledge is power.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, everybody.